This timeline is crazy, man.
I know. So many things coming at one time.
Not do this alone. Do you foresee that there could be other charges related to this case?
I'm not taking anything off the table.
No one wants him mentioned.
What?
This is getting crazier by the day. If Diddy's own daughters are looking to legally distance themselves from him, that says a lot about what's really happening behind closed doors. The fact that Kim Porter's passing has always seemed suspicious makes this even more unsettling. It raises so many questions. What do they know that the public doesn't? Are they afraid for their safety? Or is this just about escaping his control? Whatever the case, if they're going to court over it, there must be some serious issues at play. What's your take? Do you think this is just media exaggeration, or is there something much darker behind their decision?
Today, just to tell the truth, so hopefully we can get down to the bottom of this. I'm 100%, the charges against me are 100% false, and hopefully due to time, we'll start to see that.
This isn't just about wanting independence. It sounds like they're running from something much bigger. The timing is suspicious too. Diddy's name has been dragged into countless scandals, but now, with the renewed focus on Kim Porter's death, his daughters suddenly want out? That's not a coincidence. It makes you wonder, have they learned something new about what really happened to their mother? Or have they just had enough of living under his shadow? Either way, if they're making this move publicly, things behind the scenes must be worse than we even know. Do you think this could finally be the breaking point for Diddy's empire?
Well, Kim Porter, that is Diddy's ex, who's also the mother of his 3 of his children, has detailed the alleged abuse that she suffered at his hands.
Oh, no.
And this is all in a memoir.
The whole situation around Kim Porter's death has always felt off. But these new details, they make it even harder to believe the official story. A casket being ordered before she passed, missing electronics, and now her daughters, trying to separate from Diddy. That's way too many red flags to ignore. If there really was foul play, it would explain why people close to her are distancing themselves now. Maybe they've uncovered something, or maybe they just don't feel safe anymore. Either way, this is looking like more than just a tragic loss. It's a mystery that still needs real answers. Do you think this could finally push for a deeper investigation?
And it's like, it was the same thing Kim was going through. The same thing, bro. Kim was going through the same thing. The beatings, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, growing up with all these whispers and allegations surrounding your mother's death must be exhausting. Whether they believe everything or not, just living under that constant shadow is enough to push anyone to break away. If Kim really feared for her life, and the girls saw things firsthand, it makes sense that they'd want out. It's one thing to hear rumors, it's another to live through it. And with Diddy facing more heat than ever, maybe they're just done pretending everything is fine. Do you think they'll actually go through with emancipation? Or is this just the start of something even bigger?
Do I think, yeah. There's no, every man possibly is capable. I think he's very capable of doing it. It's in his character. That's who he is. That's what comes with power. That's what comes with arrogance. That's what comes with, what makes him, power. That's just the selfishness to make you be like that.
Yeah, that's a major shift. If the daughters were once standing by him, but are now completely distancing themselves, it says a lot. The idea that those public displays of love were staged just to control the narrative makes it even worse. It's one thing for the media to speculate, but when family members themselves start pulling away, that's when you know something is seriously off. If they're really considering emancipation, it's probably not just about the past, but also what they're dealing with behind closed doors right now. Do you think more family members will start speaking out? Or is this just the beginning of a bigger fallout?
So yesterday, Monday, Diddy celebrated his 55th birthday, but this year was a lot different. It was no Diddy parties. It was none of that. None of that stuff. Well, happily, so I guess right now. But anyway, so this is his first birthday behind bars.
Yeah, if those rumors are true, it makes total sense why they'd want out. Having your entire life and your family's worst moments constantly in the headlines has to be exhausting. It's not just about the legal troubles. It's the way everything has been handled since Kim's passing that seems to have pushed them over the edge. If they're already meeting with attorneys, that means they're serious. The fact that they feel the need to take legal steps instead of just distancing themselves quietly says a lot. Do you think this will lead to even more revelations about Diddy? Or is this just the start of a bigger fallout?
Yeah, but so there's still, I mean, it's crazy too because there's still more happening in court. Like, I mean, everything is still active even though we're not hearing about it as much anymore. And the people may be fatigued like we talked about prior to.
Kim's legacy is definitely one of strength and devotion to her kids. But the stories about her relationship with Diddy paint a much darker picture. If even half of these insider reports are true, she went through a lot behind closed doors. The fact that she supposedly confided in friends about feeling trapped and fearing for her safety makes everything even more heartbreaking. And if there were violent altercations like that one insider described, it just adds to the suspicion surrounding her passing. It really makes you wonder, was her death just an unfortunate tragedy? Or is there more to the story that's yet to come out? Interview. Yeah, the timing of this so-called memoir is definitely suspicious, especially with everything else going on around Diddy. If the book is legit, it could be a major piece of the puzzle in understanding what Kim really went through. But if it's just a cash grab or a hit piece, then it's only adding more confusion and pain for her family. The fact that Diddy's daughters have publicly denied it also complicates things. Are they genuinely trying to protect their mother's memory, or are they being pressured to discredit it? Either way, it's clear that Kim's story isn't fading away anytime soon, and people still have a lot of unanswered questions.
Kim had took the cork, you know where you open up wine? The corkscrew. She took the corkscrew and caught him on his wrist defending himself. And he almost, I think he had, I know he tore some ligament, but he almost hit an artery or came close to the artery or either scratched it or cut it a little bit because he just kept bleeding.
This situation just keeps getting darker. If Diddy's daughters really are trying to break free, it speaks volumes about how deep the dysfunction runs. And now, with Justin and Christian being pulled into the chaos, it's clear this isn't just about Diddy anymore. It's about the entire Combs family and the legacy they're caught up in. If the allegations against the sons hold any truth, it completely changes the narrative. Are they victims of their father's influence, or have they knowingly played a part in everything? Either way, the more that comes to light, the harder it is to ignore just how messy and disturbing this whole situation is.
Diddy.
You know, he gets trafficking because he took her to different states and had her perform acts with different, you know, male and different people, sometimes against her will.
If these claims are legit, it's no surprise the courts aren't budging on bail. The idea that Diddy might be pulling strings from behind bars, using three-way calls and pressuring witnesses, just adds to the already massive pile of allegations against him. At this point, his legal team must be scrambling to find a way to spin this. But the prosecution clearly isn't playing around. If they can prove he's been tampering with witnesses, that alone could be enough to keep him locked up. It really does feel like a movie, except this is real life. And the consequences are very real too.
Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff.
If these allegations are true, it's clear Diddy isn't just sitting back. He's actively trying to control the narrative from behind bars. The idea of using coded messages and orchestrating PR campaigns to manipulate public opinion is next-level strategy, but it also shows just how desperate he might be. The prosecutors seem to have picked up on these tactics, which explains why they're fighting so hard to keep him locked up. If they can prove he's been tampering with witnesses and evidence, or even attempting to influence potential jurors, his chances of getting out on bail drop to zero. It's a dangerous game. And so far, it looks like the courts aren't buying what he's selling.
This is very significant just from who we associate Diddy being and everything we've seen him do over the decades. Like you said, this is quite the downfall to go from, I mean, we saw the mansions back in March that were raided by the feds. So to go from living in those mansions to being in a jail cell right now, I think it really underscores the magnitude of what he's facing and the weight of the federal government.
Investigators are handling evidence in secrecy. It suggests they've uncovered something explosive, possibly even bigger than what's already been made public. The fact that financial records, texts, and security footage are all under scrutiny means they're building a case from multiple angles. If Diddy's electronic devices contain incriminating material, it could be game over for him. The idea that each new finding is leading to more questions only adds to the intrigue. This investigation isn't just about past allegations anymore. It's about uncovering the full extent of what's been happening behind closed doors.
It's a question of that, but when you read through the indictment, it's pretty clear who could be indicted as a co-conspirator. Right now, there are people in the indictment who would be considered unnamed co-conspirators, but clearly have played a role in this conspiracy. And I think prosecutors have some big leverage on them because they're hoping that they testify against Diddy as prosecution witness.
If these allegations are true, it paints a troubling picture of how deep this situation goes. A leaked phone call with coded language like leftover pizza boxes strongly suggests an attempt to destroy evidence. If Justin and Christian are truly involved in covering their father's tracks, they could face serious legal consequences themselves. Authorities will likely be watching their moves closely. If prosecutors can prove they're actively obstructing justice, it could lead to additional charges, not just for Diddy, but for his sons as well. This is no longer just a scandal. It's turning into a full-blown crisis for the entire Combs family.
But there's also strategic reasons for the prosecutors to want him to have co-defendant, because right now he hasn't waived his right to a speedy trial, which would force prosecutors to take up the trial pretty quick, which they actually might not be ready to do. But if they supersede him and have co-defendants with him, it makes it a lot easier to pursue a trial continuance without him waiving his speedy trial right.
It was all, insecurities. Anytime a man would go out his way to wiretap someone's phone or put taps in their homes just to monitor their conversation, that's a sign of insanity. So when you see someone doing that, you can imagine everything.